Hello class, Mr. Trin here. Welcome back to Elementary Knowledge. So you probably noticed that my setup looks a little bit different this week, and you know what, after filming my first video, I felt that it was really scripted, and I felt like you could tell from the video that it was really scripted. Didn't really show much of my personality. I wanted to make this channel just to chat with all of you as fellow teachers about teaching and the profession, so I thought, you know, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. So I thought, why don't you join me in my office and let's just have a little chit chat. And today I'd like to talk, or not talk, I'd like to give some advice to new teachers. I'm a relatively new teacher. I graduated about 3 years ago now. I'm currently in my third year of teaching. Like I said in my previous video, I teach grade 5 at a relatively large school board, public school board in Alberta. And though I don't think I am necessarily a fountain of wisdom, I do think that I have learned enough over the last 3 years to give some advice to recent graduates. If you are a new teacher, this video is especially for you. And being not too far removed from college and still remembering most of my college experience, here's some advice that I wish I had received as a new teacher. My first piece of advice is to get started before you even graduate. Don't wait until graduation day to look for a job. I probably spent 4 months prior to graduation looking for work. The school board that I work for is notorious for being difficult to get into, particularly as a new graduate, and so I had to start well in advance. Your best bet is to communicate with previous teachers. Ask your old teachers, especially high school teachers, what their process was like going into college. I took a lot of advice from some of the teachers that really inspired me when I was in high school and when I was in school. And it was incredibly helpful to hear from them about kind of the ins and outs of the school board that I wanted to work for, what kind of the expectation was, and they gave me a little bit of advice too in terms of my interviews. And so I would definitely reach out to people in the community or other recent graduates, people who have also graduated from classes maybe a year or two before you, and ask them for advice about interviewing and applications. Get all that information as soon as you can, and don't be afraid to call HR. Reach out to them and ask them, say, hey, I'm interested in applying. I'm going to be a graduate this year. What do I need for my application? What expectations am I expected to meet? What does the interview process look like? Ask questions, find out all the information well in advance so that when applications open for new substitute teachers or new teachers, you can get in there as soon as possible. My second piece of advice is really make sure that you've crafted a good story as to why you want to become a teacher. The interview process at my school board was quite interesting. It wasn't like a traditional interview, so I didn't have a back and forth with my interviewer. They just asked me questions and I answered them. I know this is a particular style of interviewing that can be very effective for narrowing down candidates, especially when you have hundreds of them. But it was kind of awkward not being able to have that conversation. And so I had to be really conscious of what I was going to say in my interview. Craft your story well, okay? We all have reasons for entering the profession, and whatever that reason may be, make sure that you share that, okay? Don't be ashamed of your story. Whatever your reason might be, make sure that they know, and be genuine and show your personality and really show your passion for the profession and for your work. It will come through, and it'll come through genuinely. And the best piece of advice I ever got for interviewing was to be specific. Say exactly what you want. Don't be afraid to explain where you see yourself in a few years. Don't be afraid to talk about what you think you specialize in, and sell yourself, right? We're all educators. We're all here to help kids. So what makes you different, I guess, from everyone else, right? What would make you, what skill set do you have that would really help you as an educator? And remember that educators are more than just teachers. We're also caregivers, and we're all the role models that kids look up to. Sometimes we're even secondary parents. So really think about the assets that you have as a person that make you not just a good teacher, but a great caregiver as well, because at the end of the day, that's what we are for these kids. My third piece of advice is to take what you can get. The school that I currently work for is actually my alma mater. I graduated from that school way back in 2006. It was an elementary school, and I went to this elementary school. I was kind of surprised to get a call back from the principal asking if I wanted to work there, and I took it within a heartbeat. This school, however, is an inner city school. It is a relatively low income school with transient population and would often be considered a relatively difficult school to work at because there are many, many needs in this school, language, learning, physical and mental needs at the school that can be quite strenuous, especially on new teachers. However, don't be afraid of those opportunities. If anything, take those opportunities as soon as you can. I am forever grateful for this opportunity and to my principal for offering me this position, because I have learned so much in the last 3 years. I've learned more in the last 3 years than I ever did in college, than I ever could have imagined knowing this early into my career. And it's hard, trust me, it has not been an easy path. I've had very difficult students, but those are also the students that I appreciate the most, because they have taught me so much about myself as an educator, about what I want to be as a teacher, and how I can definitely improve my practice. And unfortunately, I have heard other people graduating from my class who have rejected positions like this, who have turned them away and still have yet to find full-time positions. And I think it's really unfortunate that as teachers, there's still a stigma around these particular communities and schools. Yes, the work is hard, but our job is to support these students. And so I think it's quite disingenuous for us to preach all of these things when we're in seminar and in college, and then only not to act on them when we graduate and have to find work. I think take any opportunity you can, and look especially for these high needs underprivileged schools. They can take as much talent as they can get, and I think new teachers come with such great insights on the different social contexts that can affect especially students in these particular communities that we can bring. And I don't think you should be afraid to take these opportunities. There's always a running joke at my school that if you can teach here, you can teach anywhere. And to some degree that is true. And though I'm early in my teaching career, I honestly do think that my work here at this school will be the most fulfilling work that I will ever do in my career, ever. Because it is that important and the kids are that special. Last but not least, and I struggle hard with this because I am type A perfectionist, give yourself breathing room. I always heard that there was a statistic that 25% of all teachers leave the profession in their first 5 years. And I always made a joke about it in class that I would never be one of those 25%. And I just about did last year. I had an incredibly difficult year last year. I wasn't prepared for it. I just didn't know how difficult this profession could be. I had a very high needs student, and as best as I tried to support them, it was also taking a toll on me. And in retrospect, I wish that I would have acknowledged that sooner. We need to give ourselves space to grow, and we need to give ourselves room to make mistakes. Teaching is such an incredibly difficult job. We probably make 99 decisions every single second about what we're going to do, what we're going to say, how to respond to situations that we couldn't even imagine could be possible in a classroom. And we need to give ourselves the space to breathe. It's okay if you make mistakes. And if you are finding difficulty, we have to seek support. I'm the kind of person who wants everything to be perfect, and I'm also afraid to ask for help. And both of those things were super detrimental to me last year. I just about left the profession, and I'm so thankful that I didn't, and that I had an administration that saw that I was struggling and was able to reach out to me. But I know some of you may not be in a position where that is true. And I say this truly, please be kind to yourself. Give yourself the room to grow. Know that this isn't the end-all be-all for your career. And give yourself the chance to make some of those mistakes. And I think it's important to be open about them with your students. If something doesn't go well, if a lesson doesn't go as planned, if a day doesn't go as well as it should have, I like to do sharing circles. I like to have open conversations. And of course, we're teachers, so we can take on the discretion to know whether or not a conversation is appropriate. But I think within reason, we can have these conversations with our kiddos. And like, yesterday wasn't a great day. I wonder why, and have that conversation with them, open it up to them. You'll find that they connect with you way better that way. And relationships are always key. Relationships are everything. And if we can forgive ourselves for our own mistakes and allow ourselves to have the conversation with our kiddos so that they can forgive us for our mistakes, you will find that you're much calmer and you'll have a much better experience, particularly in those first 5 years, because they will be hard and they'll be strenuous and there will be things thrown at you that you couldn't even have imagined were possible in this profession. And you need to give yourself the room to grow and give yourself the room. All right, well, that's it for the video this week. I'm excited to do more sit-down conversations like this. If you have a topic or a question that you're curious about, if you're an up-and-coming teacher, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear about it. As always, please like the video if you enjoyed it. And if you really enjoyed it, it would really be helpful if you subscribed. and turn on the notification bell. I'm a small channel and it really helps with the algorithm, and the engagement will help me hopefully be able to share more of my content with other new up-and-coming teachers as well. I will have a new video up next week, and as always, I hope you have a fantastic week ahead of you. Class is dismissed.